And today we are starting a new series for the month of November. I'm doing the first two lessons and then others, Stephen, Bruce and Danny, I don't know the others. And we're on this topic, this poster designed by Jess. Thank you, Jess, for doing that. The topic for the month is the heart of a child. And this comes out of some of what we did when we studied Matthew chapter 18 over, I think, a 4-week period, looking at what Jesus says about his church. And at the beginning of the chapter, what he basically lays out is that his church is not fundamentally about how it's organized or its programs. It's about a group of people who have adopted deliberately the heart of a child. If you could characterize what Jesus thought was, what was the average church member going to be like when the church was established after he left, he would say, well, it will be full of people who have the heart of a child. Quite simple, really. Not complex, because Jesus' teachings are deep, but they are not complex. You may remember back in Matthew 18, people asked him, his followers, who's the greatest in the kingdom? And what are they asking? We're with you, right? So are we the greatest? Because kind of like you're the greatest, so we're with you, so we must be kind of the greatest. And he says, well, okay, but listen, it's see this child? You've got to become like a child. If you're going to enter the kingdom of heaven, you won't get there unless you have this heart. Whoever becomes humble like this child is the greatest. I mean, you can put that in air quotes, right? I think Jesus is using air quotes here. They're not in the translation. So whoever becomes humble like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Who is the greatest? It's the humble one. It's the childlike one. It's the heart of a child that is trusting and dependent and gentle and submissive. I also heard somebody else talk about this at a retreat I went to in, I think it was April or so. Sean McGee, who's been here and spoken, was talking about this heart and what it means. And he offered these suggestions as to what the heart of a child are like. The heart of a child is the heart of humility. The heart of a child is a heart that is often just in wonderment at things in the world. You know how kids just take delight in the tiniest things that we would think are very dull and boring and unimportant. You know, a pin is exciting to a kid. Well, that's a pin. Not a good thing for a child to hold. But, I don't know, something just doesn't really matter. You know, it's just to have this general sense of awe and wonder. The heart of a child is the heart that has a not knowing stance. Like, kids know they don't know stuff. They sometimes pretend they know, right? But they do know they don't know. They ask why all the time. As if you're a parent, you get tired of that question. But they keep asking why. That's the heart of a child. The heart of a child is a heart that has playfulness in it. Don't you see that? You bring two children together of roughly the same age, you put them into a playground and they'll play together, even if they've never met before. Adults, what do? We go and play on the swings on our own, right? Or something. But they just gravitate together. They have this heart of playfulness. And the heart of a child also has this sense of timelessness. They're not worried about what's happening next Tuesday. They don't have a diary. They don't have a calendar. They're in the moment, right? That's the sense of this childlikeness has all of these characteristics. I thought that what Sean brought out of these was very helpful. So these are the topics of our sermons in November. This week, humility. Next week, awe and wonder. Then having a not knowing stance, playfulness, and timelessness. That's the 5 Sundays in November. Underlying all of that, I think is underlying that in a spiritual sense, is the idea that a child would have utter reliance on God. That's the underlying idea here. An utter reliance on God. Like a small child has an utter dependence on their parents. They cannot cook, they cannot earn the money, they're utterly dependent on their parents. In the same way, a childlike heart Christian has an utter reliance on God. So today we're going to tackle humility, which is always a challenging topic to preach on, not least because who am I to say that I've cracked humility? And in itself would not be a very humble stance. So I'm not suggesting that, but I'm going to suggest instead we look at somebody who kind of did crack it and somebody who definitely cracked it. So we'll come to that in a moment as we look at, firstly, Moses. Get this in Numbers 12. Now, the man Moses was very humble. I mean, I would settle if someone said to me, Malcolm's really humble. I would take that. But Moses is very humble. More so than anyone else on the face of the earth. Now, that is some claim. And given that we think Moses wrote the first five books of the Bible, including this one, the question is, did he write this about himself? Well, no, I doubt it, because we know the books were edited. And so it's a record of what he did, and he did write some of it, but then I guess an editor put in, this guy Moses, he was different. A bit better. So we'll find out at some point in the next life. So today we're going to look at him for some lessons on humility. I have to say, we could preach 100 sermons on humility, and even 100 on Moses himself. So not claiming that this is everything that there is to be said about humility or about Moses, but we will look at one instance, and I'd like to ask us today, gathered here together, as we learn together, is what is God teaching you and us about humility from this example, this incident in Numbers 12, and Moses, the most humble man on the face of the earth. So, let's dig into Numbers 12. We're going to go through it bit by bit. And what we find at the beginning is we've got Miriam and Aaron. Who are Miriam and Aaron? Anybody give me that? Who's Miriam, who's Aaron? Brother and sister to Moses. Okay, so it's family. All right, and what was Aaron's main role in Israel? You know? He was a priest, he was the high priest. And Miriam, what was she? Song leader. Dancer, dance leader. Songwriter. Prophetess, prophets, that's sort of prophet side of things. Okay, so you got priest, prophet, and you've got Moses, who's prophet also, miracle worker also, but you've got, this is family, three people, family, right? So they're at a place called Hazeroth, and Miriam and Aaron want to have a chat with their brother Moses. So they go to him and they speak against him because he had a Cushite woman whom he had married. And indeed, he had married a Cushite woman. It was true. I mean, the accusation was true. That's what had happened. And they said, has the Lord only spoken through Moses? Has he not spoken through us also? And the Lord heard it. So, what do you think? What is Aaron and Miriam's issue with Moses? What do you think? Jealousy? Envy? Right. What about the Cushite woman? What do you think? Stephen?
I think he was a hypocrite.
Maybe they thought he was a hypocrite, should have married someone who was a Cushite instead of an Israelite. Maybe. I mean, the bottom line is, they're talking about the woman, but it's not really about the woman. Right? Because they're like, has God only spoken through him? What about us? I mean, what about us is the thing here that's going on, right? It's not really the woman issue. It's not about the marriage. It's about jealousy. It's about envy. They didn't like it, but God worked through Moses in a special way, differently to the way he worked through them. They wanted something he had. They wanted that specialness in some way. So we see a great test of humility, don't we? Moses is being accused. He hadn't actually done anything wrong, but he's being attacked. How do you feel when you've been unjustly attacked? Unjustly accused? I mean, how does it feel? Not nice. What goes on? What goes on inside? What's going on? Anger. I mean, my stomach does a flip. Physically. I mean, it's the body. I can feel it in my body. Right? I mean, it's not a good feeling. So here's the thing, though. From this passage that we just read, this bit here, what's missing? I'll give you a minute to think about that. What's missing, Bruce?
No response from Moses.
No response from Moses, yeah.
I think more curiosity as opposed to accusation.
Okay, yeah. Curiosity. There's humility here.
No, that's what's missing.
Okay, let's put it this way. If you were Moses, what would you do? All right, you're too humble. If it was some other person you know, what would they do? What would you be tempted to do? Argue back, defend, prove yourself, okay, all kinds of things, right? It's a deafening silence from Moses. Doesn't say anything, doesn't answer them, doesn't argue, he does not defend himself. The text is silent, and that silence is loud with the sound of humility. Humility sounds like silence in practice. What are the most important words in the first 3 verses we just read? Is it 3 verses? 2 verses. What are the most important words, do you think, in those first 2 verses? Yeah, the Lord heard it. The Lord heard it. Moses heard it, but he heard it, he knows what's going on, and Moses, I reckon, figures God's going to sort this out. Right? So, as we read earlier, our very humble Moses, humbler than anybody else on the face of the earth, this is who he is. And this is the next verse in the passage. And in the middle of all this jealousy and accusation, God stops and gives a divine commentary, you could say, on Moses' heart. Because this is what I think about Moses. He's a really humble guy. The word in the Hebrew is anal, which means humble or meek or gentle or patient or submissive to God. It's a word that means meek. It does not mean weak. It means strength under control. Power controlled by trust in God. I mean, let me ask you, what evidence is there that Moses was not weak? I don't think he was weak, but give me an example perhaps of where we know that he wasn't weak. Yeah?
He killed the Egyptian.
He killed the Egyptian. If he's strong enough to kill somebody, he's clearly not a weak guy. That's true. Okay, what other evidence is there?
Well, he carried a couple of stone tablets down the mountain. Then running.
He was a mountaineer. He was a mountaineer. Went up a mountain, came back down a mountain with tablets of stone. That must have been heavy. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely.
Strength of character confronting Pharaoh.
To stand up against Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world at that time. I mean, that takes some guts, doesn't it? No, he was not weak, but he was meek. We see this in the passage here. It might remind us of Matthew 5. Blessed are the meek, they will inherit the earth. Not the grasping, not the aggressive, not the the self-defending, not the ambitious, selfishly ambitious. The meek will inherit the earth. We haven't got time to describe what that means here, but it's worth meditating on. Humility does not mean, by the way, thinking less of yourself, like you don't matter. Moses understood his calling, but it means thinking of yourself less often, less of being absorbed about ourselves and more about God. And it seems that this is why Moses was described in this way as the most humble man that ever lived, because he thought more of God than anybody else did. He wasn't timid. He led millions. Imagine being a leader of 1 million plus people. That's what Israel was. He faced fear of Pharaoh, but I believe he knew that his strength didn't come from himself. It came from God. He was commissioned by God. He was like a child who trusts their parents' hand, their father's hand, and trusted God's defense of him. So we can't be humble, really humble, until we trust that God is big enough to defend us. We do not need to defend ourselves. That's one of the things that sets Moses apart. Let's go on to the next part of the passage here. So, the Lord heard all this, and Moses is mega humble. Suddenly, the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, this little threesome, come out, you three, come out to the tent of meeting. So they had a tabernacle before the temple was built, they had a tabernacle instead. So the three of them came out, and then the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud, and that's how he led the Israelites through the desert, so it symbolizes the presence of God being very near and with them. The pillar of cloud is there and stood at the tent, at the entrance of the tent, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forward. So there was the three of them, and then God says, right, Moses, you hang back. I want to talk to Aaron and Miriam. We're going to have a chat. You're going to be called out to have a chat with a pillar of cloud. Okay, how does that feel? So what does God say? Hear my words. When there are prophets among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to them in visions. I speak to them in dreams. Not so with my servant Moses. He's spelling out what's different here. He is entrusted with all my house. So it's not just got a little sliver of a role. He's got the whole thing. With him, I speak face to face. No dreams, no visions. Face to face. Clearly, not in riddles. And he beholds the form of the Lord. I mean, what does that mean? I have no idea. It's not physical, I don't think, but there's something very intimate about the relationship he's describing. Why then, Aaron and Miriam, why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? How do you think Aaron and Miriam are feeling at this point? Oh my goodness. Notice, by the way, who called the meeting? There's God, man. Wasn't Moses. Let's get together, figure this out. Come on, come to my house for the meeting. God says, no, come to my house. Let's have a meeting. God becomes the defender of the humble. Calls them out. And he's saying basically, Moses did not put himself in the position that he has. I put him there. So your beef is not with Moses. Your beef is with me. Don't complain to him. If you want to complain to me. Moses did not promote himself. He was chosen. And then, I mean, we'll skip forward to what happened, but basically Miriam ends up having leprosy as a result. Now we'll come back to that in a moment. But now, let's say you're Moses, and you're with Aaron and Miriam. They're called forward, pillar of cloud, they have the chat. Miriam is now leprous. You've got leprosy, it's part of the punishment. And you're Moses, you're a bit separate from all of this going on. You've been falsely accused, you've been disrespected, and now your brother and sister are getting what they deserve. How might one feel?
Please, your bed light.
It's your bed, you've got to lie in it. Please, you might feel pleased. How else might you feel, humanly speaking?
Well, it's your brother and sister.
It's your brother and sister.
You don't want your sister having leprosy.
You don't want your sister having leprosy.
Not for too long anyway.
Not for too long. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we love our brother and our sister, but sometimes sibling rivalry can be quite a thing, right? I mean, biblically, look at it. I mean, Cain and Abel and everything. So, right? We don't know exactly. But the astonishing thing is that what Moses does is he doesn't gloat.
No.
And say, well, you got it coming to you. You argue with the Lord, and this is what happens. He doesn't do that. What it says in verse 13 is that his response is he cried out to the Lord, saying, "Oh God, please heal her, I pray."
Yeah.
That's a humble response, isn't it? He prays for the one who wronged him. Rather like Jesus, isn't it? You've got to see Jesus in all this. It's a foreshadowing of Jesus on many levels. And please heal her. That's what he's saying. Jesus said on the cross, "Father, forgive them, but they know not what they do." Same heart. The difference between a proud person in this kind of situation and a humble person is this. A proud person wants vindication when they've been wronged. A humble person wants restoration.
Yeah.
I want us to be back together. I want it all to be sorted out so that we can be in harmony with one another. That's the difference between pride and humility. Active mercy. Let's go on to the rest of the story and then wrap up. So what happens after all this is going on? Aaron says, oh no, my sister is leprous. Do not punish us for the sin. We were foolish. Don't let her be like one stillborn, coming out of the mother's womb. And then Moses makes this prayer, Lord, God, heal her. The Lord says to Moses, well, look, if her father had but spit in her face, so what's going on there? That's not biblical, that's a cultural thing of the day. And the idea is if your father spits in his daughter's face, it means she's done something disgracing the family. Right? That's the idea. And so they will be in disgrace for a period of time, some shame. And if that had happened, would she not bear her shame for 7 days? Limited, like Barry said. So let her, that's Miriam, be shut out of the camp for 7 days. And after that, she may be brought in again. So he hears Moses' prayer, but he lets Miriam know, and of Aaron by association, that there are consequences. I will not be taken lightly, is what God is saying. It's not really about Moses. It's about God and his honor, ultimately, in this context. Moses intercedes. He has the heart of a child, and he shows the heart of that young child that we talked about from Matthew 18. Do you know how much Moses speaks in this chapter? We hear from Aaron, we hear from God, we hear from the narrator, but we only hear from Moses, actually, 2 words. It's 5 in the English, but it's only 2 Hebrew words. El and rahas. Just 2 words. That's all he says. Which is translated, it literally just means God heal. God heal, or God heal now, or God heal her. God heal. That's all it is. So he's there, silent the rest of the time. He sees what's happening. He hears the appeal from Aaron. He says, God, heal. Makes that supplication. In fact, there's these 2 words, El, which means God, and Rapha, which means heal, are the words that come into the name Raphael. So that's Raphael's meaning his name. It means healed by God, or healer of God, or God will heal, or God heal. That's what it means. So every time you hear the word Raphael, you'll remember this. You'll remember this was Moses' prayer. God heal. It's still the prayer today, it's Jesus' prayer. God heal. He wanted all people to be well. In every sense. Emotionally, spiritually, physically. He went and healed people physically. But he also gave people what they needed, like the woman at the well. He gave her the right access to the God that she could worship and heal. This is what it's all about. And it comes through humility. The healing comes through humility. It's the only way anybody ever gets healed, really, is through humility. Somebody offering them a humble heart. We only get really healed if we adopt a truly humble heart ourselves before God. Moses' strength wasn't in commanding armies, though he was very good at it. And it wasn't at working miracles, though he was very good at that. His strength was in keeping a soft heart when others hardened theirs. We are ultimately responsible for our own hearts. We can't blame it on other people. He kept a soft heart. So to wrap up, the heart of a child is seen in Moses. Moses trusted God for his vindication, and so that there would be instead a restoration and a reconciliation. He trusted God. He obeyed God in the sense that he didn't take unrighteous action against Moses and Aaron. And he was apparently willing to forgive. He's not going to pray that prayer unless he's forgiving towards Aaron and Miriam. So the greatest in the kingdom, go back to Matthew 18, the greatest in the kingdom is not the one who wins the argument. The greatest in the kingdom is not the one who gets the credit. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who gets the credit. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who gets the credit. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God. The greatest in the kingdom is the one who trusts God He's the one who obeys God, even when it's uncomfortable. The one who forgives, especially when it is not deserved. He trusted that God heard what was going on, saw what was going on, and took action so that Moses would be able to keep a soft heart himself, become like a child. The Lord, you know, when we are mistreated, persecuted, badly done by, you feel it. Maybe nobody else sees it, but the Lord sees it. The Lord hears it, and He is not passive. He's available to you to help you keep a soft heart, even at times like that. We may remember this challenge and promise from 1 Peter 5. Humble yourselves, therefore. This is our heart. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God. Not just the hand of God, but the mighty hand of God. He's got the strength. He's got the power. So that He may exalt you in due time. Which might be in 5 minutes, might be in 5 years. But in due time. This is what Moses did. He humbled himself under God's mighty hand, and God raised him back up in due time. So, do you want to get into the kingdom? Do you want to be in the kingdom? Do you want to be a kingdom citizen? Then you must have the heart of a child. What does it mean to have the heart of a child? It means we must have a humble heart. What does it mean to have a humble heart? It means to trust God that He's on your side and He'll sort things out, rather than taking matters into our own hands. And how do we trust God? How do we even know that we can trust God? Because of Jesus. Because of His life and His love, and especially the sacrifice on the cross. 41 years ago, I was in South London. 41 years ago today, on the 2nd of November, 1984. I remember it very well. I was in South London, I was in Bermondsey. I was in a church building. The church building had a baptistry, like we have here. The baptistry was open, the water was warm, and I was standing in it. It was 41 years ago today I was baptized into Christ. And I've lived 41 years as a follower of Jesus. I have been misunderstood. Sometimes my own fault, but sometimes not. I have been falsely accused. I have had things go against me that are my fault. But I'm still here, not because I think I have any particular strength in me. I'm here because the Lord hears, the Lord sees, the Lord knows, and He will always give me enough strength and enough grace to handle it if I ask Him. God, heal. Heal me, heal those who hurt. May we be those kinds of people, childlike people, quick to forgive, trusting in God, trusting in Jesus. And we know we can trust Him because He went to the cross. The most humble man ever to live in the old covenant was Moses. But he is greatly surpassed by Jesus, who is for sure the greatest, most humble ever to have lived, because He went